semifinal collision course that has Monaco on fire. Welcome back to Court Vision Plus, the only place on the internet where we serve you the rawest, most electrifying, and absolutely unfiltered truth from the tennis world. If you haven't already, smash that subscribe button right now, because the sheer magnitude of what just unfolded on the red clay of Monaco is sending seismic shockwaves through the entire ATP Tour, and by the time we're done here, your jaw is going to be on the floor. Grab your popcorn, settle in, take a deep breath, and let's talk about the man, the myth, the absolute Spanish juggernaut who is currently tearing the 2026 Monte Carlo Masters into pieces with his bare hands. Because Carlos Alcaraz didn't just win a tennis match on Friday. He made history. He drew a line in the sand. He looked the ghost of every legend who came before him dead in the eye and said, quietly, confidently, without a single ounce of arrogance, "I'm coming for all of it." Let's set the scene for you. Picture the glittering Mediterranean coastline. Yachts bobbing in the Monaco harbor, billionaires sipping champagne under the Riviera sun, the legendary Court Rainier 3 packed to the brim with some of the most famous faces in European sport. It is the ultimate playground for the rich and the elite. But for Carlos Alcaraz, this week, it has been an execution chamber. And on Friday, Alexander Bublik was the one walking to the guillotine. Going into this quarterfinal clash, the tennis world was genuinely buzzing. Bublik, the wildly unpredictable, chaotic genius who had just cracked the ATP top 10 earlier this year, was supposed to be a legitimate threat. This is a man who will hit an underarm serve on match point just to mess with your head.
You just have to love watching this guy on a tennis court.
Keeps directors on their toes.
And again.
A player who defies logic, rhythm, strategy, and sometimes the basic laws of physics. This was their very first meeting on the ATP Tour, and the anticipation was completely off the charts. People were whispering in the corridors of the Monte Carlo Country Club. Could Bublik's anarchic energy rattle the world number one? Could the Kazakh madman do what nobody else has managed this clay season? For the first 20 minutes, the illusion of a competitive match actually, genuinely held up. Alcaraz came out firing, breaking early to jump out to a 2-0 lead and looking like he was ready to pack up and catch an evening boat ride. But then Bublik did what Bublik always does, he conjured absolute madness out of thin air. Rattling off 3 consecutive games, the Kazakhstani wizard suddenly had a 3-2 lead, and for just one brief, delusional, electrifying moment, the Monte Carlo crowd actually gasped. Was the defending champion in trouble? Had Bublik cracked some secret code? The answer, delivered with the subtlety of a sledgehammer dropped from a helicopter, was absolutely, unequivocally, spectacularly no. From the moment Alcaraz found himself trailing 2-3 in that first set, a switch flipped.
For Carlos Alcaraz.
You could see it physically happen in real time. The boyish grin disappeared, replaced by the cold, locked-in stare of an apex predator who had just decided he was done playing around. What happened next was not a tennis match. It was a demolition. A surgical, clinical, borderline disrespectful demolition. Carlos Alcaraz proceeded to win 10 consecutive games. Let me say that again for the people in the back who thought they misheard. 10 consecutive games.
It is job done for Carlos Alcaraz.
Against the world number 11. Bublik's serve, arguably one of the most dangerous weapons on the entire ATP Tour, was broken 6 times across the match. 6 times. The drop shots were infuriating. The forehands were breaking the sound barrier. The defensive retrievals were turning into blinding passing winners that left Bublik staring at his racket like it had personally betrayed him. By the time the carnage was over, the scoreboard read 6-3, 6-0. A bagel in the second set. A complete, total, and utter humiliation wrapped up in just 63 minutes. And yet, and this is what makes Carlos Alcaraz an absolute phenomenon, after the bagel, after the massacre, after putting on a clinic that will be dissected in tennis academies for the next decade, the young Spaniard walked up to the net and was almost apologetic. He exchanged warm words with a bewildered Bublik, who reportedly told him at the net, with a resigned shrug, that they had played in the worst possible conditions for his game. Alcaraz's response? A grin, and the line, "I'm looking forward to facing you on grass." The nerve. The absolute, beautiful nerve of this man. Now, let us talk about why this victory was so much more than just another quarterfinal scalp. Because this win over Bublik wasn't simply a ticket to the semifinals. This win was Carlos Alcaraz's 300th career victory on the ATP Tour. Number 300. And the stat attached to that milestone is the one that is currently sending traditionalists, historians, and Big Three loyalists into an absolute, meltdown-level frenzy. Alcaraz reached 300 wins faster than Roger Federer. Faster than Rafael Nadal. And faster than Novak Djokovic. Let that sink in. The holy trinity of tennis, the men who have collectively hoarded 20-plus Grand Slams apiece and monopolized the record books for the better part of 2 decades. Every single one of them had taken more matches and more losses to hit this same milestone. In fact, only 2 players in the entire history of the sport have reached 300 wins faster, the legendary Jimmy Connors and Rod Laver, names that belong in a completely different era of the game entirely. Alcaraz got there in his 367th match. That is a winning percentage so obscene it almost feels made up. And it doesn't stop there. This quarterfinal appearance was Alcaraz's 14th Masters 1000 semifinal, surpassing Lleyton Hewitt's record for the third most before turning 23 in the format's history. The only 2 men ahead of him? Djokovic and Nadal. The only 2 men left. During his on-court interview, a beaming Carlos said he was thrilled about the milestone and that he hoped for many more to come. Simple words. But the locker room heard them loud and clear. The footsteps are getting louder, and they are not slowing down. But wait. Because at Court Vision Plus, we promised you tabloid fire, and we always deliver. Let's pivot from the baseline to the open water, because while Carlos has been dismantling opponents on the court, off the court, the rumor mill has been spinning at absolutely warp speed, and the story is even better than you think. Cast your mind back to the Miami Open earlier this year. Social media erupted with photographs of a stunning, enormous catamaran floating off the sparkling waters of the Mediterranean. A luxury vessel so extravagant, so outrageously spectacular, that fans immediately lost their minds. Was the 22-year-old world number 1 spending his prize money on a mega yacht? Had the fame finally gone to his head?
Hola a todos, muy contento de poder jugar mi primera final aquí en las ATP Finals. Mañana partido contra Yannick, una vez más en su casa. Así que nada, espero que...
Was Carlos Alcaraz out there sipping cocktails on the high seas while the rest of the draw was putting in extra hours on the practice court? Well, Carlos finally stepped to the microphone and addressed the nautical elephant in the room, and the truth, the truth, is somehow even more Carlos Alcaraz than the rumor was. After his opening win over Sebastian Baez, he sat down with Tennis Channel's Prakash Amritraj and cleared the air with that signature laugh. The boat making the rounds on the internet? Not his. It was, as he explained with a wave of his hand, simply a rental for a promotional shoot. Crisis averted. Rumor debunked. Story over. Except the story was absolutely not over, because Carlos then leaned in and dropped the most Alcaraz bombshell possible. While that particular boat wasn't his, he is, in fact, having his own custom yacht built from scratch. And not just any yacht. We're talking an 88-foot Sunreef Ultima catamaran, a bespoke, multi-million-dollar, luxury sailing vessel being constructed to his exact specifications by one of the most prestigious yacht-building brands on the planet. Sunreef Yachts themselves have already confirmed the commission on their official channels. Alcaraz told Amritraj that construction will take approximately a year to a year and a half. Mine, they're gonna build it, he said, with the kind of casual nonchalance that only someone who has won 6 Grand Slams at the age of 22 can pull off. But champions recover. And Sinner recovered in style. Against Felix Auger-Aliassime in the quarterfinals, there was no trace of the exhaustion from the night before. He was back to full factory settings, relentless from the baseline, 79% of points won on first serve, one break claimed in each set, one break point faced across the entire match, and it was saved. A 6-3, 6-4 triumph in 92 minutes, clean and precise and completely in control from the first game to the last. Milestone number 20. Big Three territory. Achieved. Now Sinner faces Alexander Zverev in Saturday's semifinal, and the stakes for this match are almost impossible to overstate. If Sinner wins in Monte Carlo, he does not just claim his first ever Monte Carlo title. He reclaims the world number 1 ranking from Alcaraz, who openly admitted earlier this week that he expects to lose the top spot when the rankings update on Monday, given how many points he has to defend compared to Sinner's virtually clean slate. Sinner is hungry. He wants that number 1 back. He wants the Monte Carlo crown. And standing in his way is Alexander Zverev, the third seed, who is on his own impressive run of form, having reached the semifinals in Indian Wells and Miami before this. Zverev versus Sinner is their 4th consecutive Masters 1000 semifinal meeting, and Sinner has won all 3 of their previous clashes this year, including a stunning 6-0, 6-1 obliteration in Paris. Zverev, to his credit, is aware of the problem. He has acknowledged the challenge. But at this point, watching him try to crack the Sinner code is starting to feel like watching someone try to solve a puzzle that simply does not have a solution. And while the Sinner versus Zverev story is compelling, the wildest subplot of the entire tournament is happening on the other half of the draw, and it involves a man nobody saw coming. Valentin Vacherat. A Monegasque player. A home boy. A 27-year-old who has never been ranked inside the top 60. A guy who, by rights, was supposed to be a footnote in someone else's Monte Carlo story. Instead, Vacherat is writing his own. After a stunning 3-set victory over 5th seed Alex de Minaur in the quarterfinals, a match in which he saved 13 breakpoints, let me say that again, 13 breakpoints, Vacherat has become the only non-seeded player in the semifinals. He is living out every tennis fan's wildest underdog fantasy on his home soil in front of the entire principality, and now he gets to walk onto court Rainier 3 on Saturday and face the defending champion of the world. Carlos Alcaraz. The man who just bageled the number 11 player in the world. The Monte Carlo crowd is going to be absolutely electric for that match. Vacherat will have every single person in that stadium screaming for him. And while the head says Alcaraz wins in straight sets, the heart, the romantic, tennis-loving heart, wants this story to run just a little bit longer. Let's also quickly revisit the road that brought Alcaraz to this semifinal, because it was not all smooth sailing. Before the Bublik massacre, Carlos had to survive a genuine war against Argentina's Tomás Martín Echeverry. After flying through the first set 6-1 in 26 minutes and looking completely untouchable, Alcaraz hit a wall. Echeverry, gritty, relentless, fighting for his tournament life, snatched the second set 6-4, dragging the defending champion into a 2-hour and 24-minute street fight. In the Carlos camp, coach Juan Carlos Ferrero was visibly animated in the box, urging his man to refocus. But Alcaraz found a way, as he always does. Breaking early in the deciding set in a marathon, 13-point game that broke Echeverry's spirit completely, the world number 1 ground out a 6-1, 4-6, 6-3 victory that proved once again that he doesn't just win when he's playing his best tennis. He wins when it gets ugly, messy, and mentally brutal. That is the hallmark of a true champion. And then there's the bigger picture that hangs over all of this like a beautifully written season finale. Carlos Alcaraz started 2026 by completing the career Grand Slam at the Australian Open. Then won the Doha ATP 500 title. He has been to the semifinals of every tournament he has entered since returning to clay, and is currently sitting on a 16-match winning streak on the surface dating back to his Rome triumph last year. He is 2 wins away from successfully defending his Monte Carlo crown. 2 wins away from cementing himself as the undisputed favorite for Roland Garros next month. 2 wins away from answering every single critic who questioned whether the Miami third-round exit to Sebastian Korda was the start of a slump. The narratives are all converging at once. Alcaraz chasing back-to-back Monte Carlo titles. Sinner hunting a first Monte Carlo crown and the world #1 ranking simultaneously. Vacherat trying to pull off the greatest upset in Monte Carlo history. Zverev desperately searching for the formula to beat Sinner on clay. A potential Alcaraz versus Sinner final on Sunday that would be, without question, the most anticipated match of the 2026 clay season so far. And somewhere out on the Mediterranean, an 88-foot sunreef catamaran being custom-built for the man at the center of all of it, who will be ready to sail into the sunset when all the titles are collected.
Carlos Alcaraz, how was your overall experience in Qatar?
It's been a really good experience. First time here in Doha, so I enjoyed every single second on the court, off the court. So just really.
This is what tennis looks like at its absolute peak. This is what the 2026 ATP season has been building towards. And it is everything we could have possibly asked for and more. Now I need to hear from you. Do you believe Carlos Alcaraz is on a trajectory to surpass the Grand Slam counts of all 3 members of the Big Three? Is Jannik Sinner about to crash the Monte Carlo party and steal the world #1 ranking right out from under Carlos's feet? Can Valentin Vacherat do the unthinkable on home soil and knock out the defending champion in front of a screaming Monaco crowd? And the most important question of the entire episode, what should Carlos Alcaraz name his custom 88-foot sunreef catamaran? Drop your suggestions down in the comments right now, because some of the ideas I've seen floating around on social media are absolutely legendary, and I want to see what this community comes up with. If you loved this deep dive into the absolute madness and magic unfolding in Monaco right now, do me one massive favor before you go anywhere. Smash that like button until it turns blue. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, because we are bringing you the fastest, the most detailed, and the most entertaining tennis coverage anywhere on YouTube. Ring that notification bell so you never miss a single update from Court Vision Plus, because with semifinals tomorrow and a potential blockbuster final on Sunday, this story is nowhere near over. Keep your eyes on the court, keep your vision clear, and we will see you in the next one.
Ready for the semi-final. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias. On va l'applaudir très fort. Carlos Alcaraz qualifié pour les demi-finales. Il rencontrera le vainqueur du match.